hoping I'm not sharing my Facebook screen, but that I'm sharing my PowerPoint screen, I sure hope. Yay. Okay, that seems to be what it's supposed to be doing, but I can't see my screen. All right, I'm trying to see if it's telling me that I'm live on Facebook, but I can't see it on here. So give me just 1 second so I can see if you guys can actually see me. And I apologize for being late. Technology has not been my friend lately. We're giving this another go. Oh, yay, it's there, I'm there. Okay. So I was hoping to have it be a little interactive. I was hoping to have a couple people come on to Zoom so that I could get some feedback in the chat box, but I haven't had anybody request to join me on Zoom. So I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be doing the Facebook. If so, if you could, oh, wow, that's really disturbing. I'm in both places. Oh, hang on, I gotta mute myself here. My apologies. Technology. There. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, because it's a little bit late. So I had it pulled up so I could. Oh, yes, I can see comments. Yay! Okay, let's get started here. All right. So if you are here live, I do see a couple people. Thank you, Lisa and Celine. Go ahead and let me know on the comments. You need a password for Zoom? And see, it didn't give me one. Yeah, I didn't set this up, so hang on. Let me see if I can do that here. Okay, so meeting password, I'm going to write this down in the comments. The meeting password, if you want to join on Zoom, is 8349018349. Okay, so I'm putting it on there if you want to come in and join on Zoom. Let me close that out, and then I'll see you and pop you in there. Okay, so I wanted to have it be a little interactive. So I wanted to ask you guys what you think socialization is. If somebody asked you to define socialization, what would you say that it is? So if you could put something in the comments, or if you're going to join me here on Zoom, put it in the chat box. Just kind of a couple definitions of what you think socialization is. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and just very briefly, I don't want to take a whole lot of time on this because I do have this in the blog. And oh, I do have one person. Hello, thank you for joining me. So I'm just going to very quickly go over why we want to go ahead and do this now. There are a lot of puppies going home, either for fosters or adopting. And just to briefly go over why you can't wait until we're opening up again, or all of those kinds of things. And it's basically because we have this critical socialization window for puppies. And it is pretty much over by 16 weeks. There's some debate whether it goes to 16 weeks or the exact somewhere between 12 and 18 weeks, but we're going to say up to 16 weeks. And that's when it's the most beneficial to do all the activities that we're going to talk about now. Now, does that mean if your puppy is over 16 weeks that you should just forget it and it's too late? No, absolutely not. What it really means is that it just takes a little more work to get there. But we really do, you do get the most benefit out of it if you get it within those 16 weeks. And so I talk a little bit on the slide here about why it's set up that way in terms of nature, why nature programmed it that way. I do have a blog on this on both my page and the Canine Humane Network page. So if you want more information on this critical socialization window, what it is, what the importance is, go ahead and check that out. I don't want to take too much time on that tonight because we did get a late start, and I really want to go over some of the activities and things that you guys can be doing at home. So that didn't go. Okay. So I asked you guys to tell me what you think socialization is. So I'm going to look at some of the comments. Oh, and I forgot to put my chat box back up here. So if those on Zoom have anything. So those on Zoom, if you want to go ahead and type up in the chat box what you would say socialization is. learn how to behave with other dogs, but also people, comfortable with changes happening around them, making sure your pup feels safe and can interact with people and other dogs. Yep, you guys are kind of getting it here. I was kind of expecting most people to say playing with other dogs, which is what we tend to think about. People definitely, but it's a little more complicated than that. This is the definition that Laura, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name, uses in her book, which I love, Social, Civil, and Savvy. And if you've taken my puppy socialization class or going to be taking that once we have them again, is all based on her book, how I set up my class and what I do. But she defines it as the acquisition of cultural habits and social, social communication to equip an individual to live in society. So what does that mean? That's our lovely scientific definition there, but what does that really mean? So to put it in layman's terms, she says, I want a dog to think rationally and proactively about any new stimulus or situation, and I want him to act intentionally and with confidence. So some of you guys kind of, I like the one that said comfortable with changes. So yes, what we're going to be focusing on a lot tonight is getting your dog comfortable with the concept of novelty. And I didn't go over too much of this in the socialization window, but one of the things that I talk about in the blog is that nature does not program wild dogs to be comfortable with change or things that are different or unfamiliar. And if you think about that, it makes a whole lot of sense, because a dog that sees something, a dog, a wolf, whatever, that sees something that they've never seen before and goes up and goes, hey, what is this? And it turns out to be a bear or something along those, or, a ravine that they could fall in. Basically what it comes down to is that's potential danger. And so nature does not program them to want to go out and explore new things. When they're programmed to go out and explore new things is when they're young, just like kids. Ooh, what's this? They have no boundaries. They want to go and see all of those things. And so that's where that 7 to 16 weeks is, where the puppies are like, hey, what's this? I want to go do that. And the parents sort of keep them in a safe environment. So they're not interacting with anything dangerous. They're not going anywhere that's dangerous. And after that 16 weeks, they become less outgoing and less interested in all of those things. And that programming starts to kick in, where if something's new and different, they're going to be wary of it, because that, again, in nature is potentially dangerous. So that's why in the world that we live in, things are constantly changing. They're constantly seeing new dogs. They're constantly seeing new people. We have people coming in and out of the house. We're going to different places. And so the world that we live in is very different from the world that they're programmed to be comfortable in. And so one of the things, the main thing that we're actually doing here is teaching them how to function with change and new things, and to be confident with that and comfortable with that. So the exercises that I'm going to be talking about are mostly going to be geared to that. We're going to touch on a couple different things, but that's what I really want people to be focused on and thinking about. And so the last thing that I have on here is always think quality over quantity. And I think it's on the next slide. Yes. So if there is only one thing that you take away from tonight, this is what I want you to take away. Okay. Proper socialization is not about exposure. We kind of get in this trap where it's like, I gotta get my puppy to see new people. I gotta get my puppy to see kids. I gotta get them to go to the pet store. I gotta get him to go to Home Depot. I gotta get him to all these places. But it's not about exposure. It's about positive experiences. If we're taking our puppy to all of these different places and our puppy is getting overwhelmed, our puppy is nervous, our puppy is not having good experiences, we're not accomplishing what we want to accomplish, and we may actually be hindering the process unintentionally. So it's about positive experiences. Again, think about quality over quantity. What we want is for your dog to be enjoying themselves with these things. So it's better to go slower and be sure that your puppy is having the experience that you want them to have, having a good time, or if they're nervous about something, that we give them the time to explore on their own and get comfortable with it. We don't want to rush things. All right, so how do we make it positive? One of the main things I want you to think about is giving your puppy the benefit of choice. Your puppy gets to decide if and when to interact with other dogs, people, or objects, scary things like the vacuum or fast moving objects, things like that. And so you can always encourage, but you don't want to force. So, again, most of the problems that we're having are we're having to stay 6 feet away from other people, other dogs, all of that. So those are the things that it's like, how do we substitute for that? But with all of that, I want you to keep this in mind. The other way to make it positive is to include something that your puppy loves. It could be yummy treats. It depends on your puppy, what's really motivating for them. Some dogs are very food motivated. Some dogs love toys. Some dogs love fetch. Some dogs love tug of war. It just depends on your puppy and their personality, what they find motivating and enjoyable. But including those in these socialization exercises helps to turn what could have been neutral, so not scary, not worrisome, but not necessarily great, into something that your puppy really loves and is looking forward to doing again. And that's sort of our goal here. All right. So if I'm going too fast, please let me know if I'm running through this too quickly, or if you have questions. I'm going to try and remember. I missed this other. Yes. Okay. So let me make sure on my chat box here that I don't have anything else. Okay. All right. So these are the building blocks of the socialization program that I do in my classes, and these are the 4 main things that I talk about in my handouts that I give people. So the first one is a socialization checklist, and I'm going to show you a sample here. And if again, this is more for those younger puppies. For the older puppies, you're going to be doing some of these exercises, but I wouldn't worry so much about the socialization checklist. But that's basically just a list of things that sort of gives you an idea of all the different stuff that you want to introduce your puppy to. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. So the next tier is confidence building. And that's the main one that I'm going to be focused on tonight, because there are a lot of activities that you can do at home to work on the confidence building. And that's really what we want to do, is have our puppy confident in different environments and with new things. And so that's going to be a lot of what we're focusing on. Meeting others is one of those tiers. We're going to talk about ways that you can do that, or ways that you can pretend to do that to help your puppy out. And then the last one is play with other dogs. And I know that's one of the ones that's going to be the most difficult if you don't have other dogs at home, or you're still in an area that's got restrictions, but we'll talk about some of the options there. All right. So I know my mouse is moving all around because it won't go. Okay, so here's my sample socialization checklist. And this is just a little piece of it. It's not the whole thing. If you do have a young puppy and you do not currently have access to a socialization checklist, I know there's a sample one, I think, that was posted on the Canine Humane Network, either website or Facebook page. But if you do not have one and you would like one, either drop a comment in the Facebook, or you can chat on the Zoom and let me know. I can send you one, or we can go ahead and just post one. This is the one that I tend to give my students in the class. And this is just a portion of one of the pages, but it basically talks about all of these different categories. So you can see right here, we've got people, places, sounds, surfaces. We're going to talk a bit about some sounds and surfaces. But these are all the different, so I want you to think of this as a goal. Don't expect to hit all of these. Nobody is going to hit all of these, but these are the types of things that you're going to be wanting to introduce your puppy to in a positive manner. And so I like to think of it as a goal. So something that you're aiming for, and you're going to try and hit as many of them as you have. Again, thinking quality over quantity, but it gives you a good idea of the types of things that you can be doing with your puppy. Please post it. Yes. Okay, will do. I think that's just easier. I'll figure out a way to post it on there. Okay. So confidence building. What can you do from home? And we're going to do a little bit about some outside the home stuff as well. So confidence building. So it's going to be actually a lot of physical activity and introduction to new things. Puppies actually gain confidence by gaining confidence in their physical abilities. So we're going to be doing a lot of exploration, some climbing, going under things, through things, on different surfaces. You know, all of those kinds of things are going to help your puppy get more confident about their abilities and more confident about the world around them and their environment. I do mention here, if you're going to be going out and about with your puppy, I know a lot of people are taking advantage, you know, the weather that we've had the past couple of days has been very nice. I hope you took advantage of that. So if you're taking your puppy out and about, let's say you're going to a hiking area or a park where you're still socially distanced from other people, but you're allowing your puppy out and about, that's great. Have your puppy, you know, if you're not in a fenced in safe place or something, have a long line is a great tool, you know, one of those 15, 20, 30 foot type of leash that your puppy can sort of move around on their own, but still stay safe and return to you. So if you're going to be doing something like that, what you want to do is set up a home base. So you're going to start your puppy off from a safe space that they're comfortable in. And this could be a blanket, their crate, towel, anything that you sort of put down for them, something that smells familiar like home. And then you're just going to let them go from there. So, you know, especially with a shy puppy that might get nervous, it gives them a place to return to. So I'm out exploring and, I'm not really sure about that. So I'm going to sort of run back to my home base, you know, and then I'm going to feel safe, and then maybe I'll venture out again. And I'm saying it in this way because one of the things that we want to do is let our puppy go and explore on their own. We don't necessarily want to be on the end of a 6-foot leash following them everywhere. Not that you can't do that, but there is some benefit to allowing them to go off and then come back to you in this confidence building and exploration. Again, we always let our puppy make the choices. We're not forcing them to do anything. You can encourage, but do not force, because while with socialization, it takes a lot of exposure for them to generalize things. Fear is one of the things that it only takes one bad experience for that to generalize. So we want to be really careful about not overwhelming our puppy. All right, so here's my example of a home base. This was one of the puppies that took the puppy socialization class. And I've got a little video here. So Harper was a little bit more of a shyer dog, had a little bit more nervous personality. So here he is with his mom, and he decided, well, I need to go back to home base. So that's how we set it up. So you can kind of see there are a couple different stations there. I've got 2 different stations where the puppies could sort of retreat and then come out for the exploration and confidence building exercise. All right, so this is just a picture of some of the tools that I used in the class. So you can see we have a pop-up tent, some tunnels. There is a plastic pool that has some balls. There's a balance board. The little platform there has a bumpy surface. So things for the puppies to go through, in. The balance board sort of moves around. The balls in the plastic pool is something different. So stepping on those balls can make it, you know, it's a different surface, something that feels a little funny. So getting them used to things like that. So how do you do something like that at home? These are all the different things that I gathered from my household. It does help having young kids like I do. So you might have some fun things like tunnels or pop-up ball pits. And so I grabbed a cardboard box. I've got a nice pool noodle. I've got the little baby gate there, which is a great thing to have walk for the puppy to walk across. I've got a hula hoop for working on going through, the plastic bin, balls, all different things that you can gather around your house. And we'll talk, and I'm going to show you some pictures here about the kinds of things you could do. So I don't know if you saw the little bin there with the balls. I actually did a little video on an enrichment activity that you could do. So with older dogs, having them have to search, sniff through that to find their food is a great enrichment activity. It's also great for puppies, but with puppies, it's an additional confidence building exercise because again, they're having to step on that weird surface to go through things. All right, so here are some more pictures of some exercises that you can do at home. So in the picture on the left, I have pointing and you guys cannot see here. I'll use my, I'm pointing with my hand instead of my mouth. All right, so this one is a shelf from a bookcase. And then I've got a pool noodle on here. So the activity idea here would be to have the puppy step on the board. It's an uneven surface. And as your puppy gets more comfortable with it, you could very slowly sort of tilt the board over to the other side. The key factor here is anytime you're doing an activity like this, you want to be sure that you're keeping it safe for your puppy. So you're going to be holding on to the other side of the board so it doesn't slip off or wobble, no toes get pinched. And it's going to take a while for your puppy to get comfortable doing that. So there might be a couple times where your puppy maybe just puts a front foot on or a couple front feet, and then you sort of start rewarding them for getting more on. And that way you can do the uneven. And this is just a variation on that theme. So instead of the pool noodle, I have 2 rolled up yoga mats. And then this was just a piece of shelving that I happen to have in the garage. So the picture over here on the right is a little kitchen obstacle course that I put together. So I've got some cookie sheets that I might put a few treats on so that the puppy walks across or at least steps in. Here I've got some metal items that I might drop a few treats in. The key with the metal is that it makes noise. So I've got some stuff in here with the whisk and another metal thing. So if the puppy sticks their nose in and moves it around, it's going to make noise. I've got my chairs in here. You can kind of see it's got this, so the puppy might have to sort of step over it or go underneath or through the little bottom of the chair there. And so one of the things that Laura talks about in the book is we don't want to food lure our puppies with activities like this. So we don't want to be holding the treat right in front of their nose and sort of luring them through, because the puppy's not really paying attention to what their body is doing and where they're going. So for situations like the obstacle course, what I would probably do is I would probably spread the treats out ahead of time. So the puppy is sort of finding the treats as they go, more as a reinforcement for the exploration on their own. But they're not necessarily following a treat right in front of them and not paying attention to where their feet are going. And then suddenly they're on a scary surface and and the other thing is, especially with the balancing, they're not aware of where their body is, so they're much more likely to fall off or do things like that. So we want them paying attention to where their body is. All right, so the next one that I have, this is a bathroom. So we had the kitchen, now we're gonna have the bathroom. You'll notice the common thing with these two are the tile floors. Tile floors are one of the things we want, are wooden floors or a surface that's slippery. We want our puppies to get used to being on and comfortable with, so that's a great surface to work with. The other benefit of working in the bathroom is if you are planning on doing baths with your puppy in the bathtub or the bathroom sink, this is a great way to make the bathroom a fun place to be, someplace that your puppy looks forward to being. So that would sort of be your first step in getting them comfortable with going into the bathroom for bath time. So the things that I have in here, you can see that I've scattered the treats. I've got a couple toys in there. I've got a bully stick hidden in the towels. I have a ramp up to the bathtub. The reason being, I don't want, for some young puppies, they may not be able to jump up there, but we really want to try and avoid puppies jumping from heights because we want to protect those growth plates. And so again, it doesn't look very secure. I do have it on the mat there, so it's not going to slide. But if I was interacting with the puppy in there, I would probably also be holding on to that board just to make sure no pinched toes, it doesn't fall off and scare the puppy. And then inside the tub, I actually have some ice cubes. And so again, it's a different surface, but one of the things, especially for a puppy that's born in spring or summer, even fall, we want to get puppies comfortable with going out in other weather like rain and snow. So getting your puppy used to stepping on a cold, wet surface would be something that would be very beneficial if you want your puppy to go outside and go to the bathroom in the snow. And also with that, if we do have some more rainy days, take advantage of that. If you want your puppy your puppy to go out to go to the bathroom in the rain when they're an adult dog, make it no big deal. Go out with your puppy in the rain for them to go to the bathroom. Make it be a fun activity. I know, you could have an umbrella if you wanted to, but I would say go out in the rain with your puppy. If you have young kids, have it be a fun activity for them to do with the puppy. Make it a fun thing and no big deal, and it will pay off later on. All right, so I went through all of that very quickly. I'm gonna ask, does anybody have any questions about things like obstacle courses or setting up the bathroom or doing any of these types of confidence building activities? So I'm just gonna pause for a minute and see if I get any comments or questions. And it's a little bit delayed on the Facebook, so I'm gonna give them a little bit of time to. All right, I'm not seeing chat in. All right, I do not see any questions. Okay, we're gonna go on. All right, so here is a video that I did with my dog demonstrating how you can use some tunnels or cardboard boxes, things to have your puppy go through. I talked about not using the food lure. What you will see me doing is I do put a treat on the inside of the tunnel close to where my dog is, to sort of so that she gets her head in there. But what I'm actually using to ask her to go through the tunnel is a hand target. A hand target is one of the first things that I teach in both my manners classes and my puppy classes, because it is such a versatile tool to use with training. It's great for getting your dogs to go where you want them to go. And it's a great one for confidence building, because you're not using a food lure, so you're not kind of bribing your dog or puppy over. You're actually asking them, are you comfortable enough to come over and touch my hand? And then if they are, great, they get a treat or a reward or something for reinforcement. But it's more of a question, and the dog and the puppy have full choice there. So let me go ahead and play this, and you can see how I did that. I don't know if I can here. Oops. We're not getting a picture here. Well, that's a bummer. Oh, there we go. Okay. Oh, sorry. I was doing something else and didn't realize that I'd paused it. All right, so here is the cardboard box example for those of you that don't have a handy tunnel. I probably would recommend taping the box open to start off with for a nervous puppy. And you can see how she sort of closes it there. So that's one of the things we'd be avoiding. As your puppy got more confident, that might be one of the things that I would do, is start to close that to make it a little bit different and to continue to build that confidence. So you went through it when it was totally open. Can you go through it if it's closed a little bit? All right, so that's another confidence building activity. All right, so here are some other options that you can do at home. So one of the things you can do, and again, we're trying to get your puppies comfortable and used to novelty or things changing. Put your puppy in another room, rearrange the furniture, take stuff out, add stuff in, and then bring your puppy back in to a totally new environment. That's an easy one. And again, you can then in that room, you could have spread out some treats or something so that they're inherently reinforced for exploring this new room. The other thing you could do is if you didn't spread the treats out as your puppy explores, you could mark and reward. So, oh, good job. And then offer a treat over by where you are. And then they sort of wander off again on their own. And when they, explore something else, then you can reward them again. Another great activity you can do is if there are people doing things outside, kids playing or people doing yard work or anything where you've got noises, movement, activity, and you can stay at a safe distance, but your puppy is still exposed to these things. Always start at a level that your puppy is comfortable. So if you do have a more nervous or sensitive puppy and loud noises are a little bit overwhelming for them, distance is always going to be your friend. So start further away, or try and lessen the intensity. So if it's something that's in your control, you can make it a little less. So if it's a noise, have it be a little bit softer. Again, if it's activity, you can slow it down. So instead of kids running, maybe they're just moving around a little bit, maybe they're just walking or something like that. And as your puppy gets comfortable, then you can increase back up the intensity to the running or the louder noise and all of that. If there aren't other people doing that, you can incorporate some of this. So out in the backyard, bring out a rake or a shovel or your lawnmower or that, and do some of those things and just normal, or start off slowly with doing them, and then reward your puppy for being around or investigating and all of that. If you do have a puppy that is is more sensitive to these sorts of things, I would start, maybe if you're doing the lawnmower, start with the puppy inside while somebody else is doing the lawnmower on the outside, and you could be rewarding them for being there at the back door and hearing it. Oh, do you hear that lawnmower? I do too. Good job. And then if you're starting to get some tail wags or some comfortable, confident, at that point, maybe you could just have the door open so it's a little bit louder, but we're still far enough away and there's a screen door or something in between us, or opening a window or something like that. And so you're slowly starting to increase the intensity as long as your puppy's comfortable. Because again, what we want to avoid is overwhelming our puppies or increasing that fear. So same thing with noises. What a lot of dogs have phobias for things like fireworks or storms or those sorts of things. So if you could introduce those at a low level, so it's not something that makes your puppy nervous. So if you were playing thunderstorm noises from Alexa, started off at a very low volume, and so you would sort of turn it on, and then as it's playing, you would give the treats. And then you would turn it off and the treats would go away. So basically what we would want is for that sound to be a prediction of something the puppy likes. So we're using classical conditioning here. The thunderstorm predicts yummy, yummy treats. And so you would sort of keep doing that where the thunderstorm comes on, yummy treats appear, thunderstorm goes away, yummy treats disappear. And then as long as your puppy's comfortable with that, then you could start to increase the intensity and the volume and all. For the vacuum, you might have to start off with it not in motion. Then you can start off with it on but not moving. And then as your puppy gets more comfortable, then you can start doing with it on and just little bits of movement. So it's always starting with a lower intensity and working up too. All right, any questions on any of that stuff? Okay. All right, so the meeting others, people and dogs. Again, it depends on where you are, what your situation is, what you're comfortable with, all those sorts of things. So if you do not have access to other people or other dogs, these are some things that you can do. Even like I talked about going outside and rewarding your dog for being around people, even if they're not directly interacting, seeing those other people and being comfortable with them is of great benefit. So don't think just because you can't be face to face with other people that you can't get your dog used to seeing others or those types of things. You can still do those activities. But another thing that you can do at home is you can change your appearance as if you were somebody else. So some dogs do get nervous with people wearing hats, or men with beards, or people wearing sunglasses, hoodies, those types of things, because it changes the person's silhouette and the way that they look. And dogs don't understand this concept of clothing or putting things on, and that it's still a person under there, because suddenly they're an alien that looks completely different to them. So one of the things that you could do to get your puppy comfortable with that, let me take a deep breath and slow down, I'm obviously talking too fast, is to use some costumes or put some different things on. So again, I would recommend having your puppy out of the room, putting some of these things on, and then having somebody else bring your puppy in to quote unquote meet you. as a new person. And we just, again, we want to make this a positive experience. So that's sort of the goal. And you could do different costumes, different days. If you have kids that have superhero costumes or those kinds of things, you can incorporate as much as you want. Pull out some, different holiday stuff. If you've got some crazy Halloween costumes or any of those types of things, the more that you can get them used to people looking different or doing different things, or, with the capes that move and the different silhouettes, the better. So for dogs, if you don't have any dogs in the neighborhood or around that your puppy can be at least see playing, or, walk by, if you have a somewhat realistic looking stuffed dog, you could sort of do things with that. You could put a little leash on it and sort of walk it by with your sort of puppy, and do some greeting behaviors. I did mean to grab, there was a video that a trainer posted that went in her puppy classes, she does use the stuffed dog to practice greetings. And I was going to post that so you could sort of see what that looks like. If I think about it, I'll try and figure out a way to get that. I can't post it publicly, so I can't put it on the page, but I could have shared it for this. But let me think about that and get back to you. All right, so those are some ways to do some dog activity. All right, so some other social outing things that we can do. I love this Takeout Meals by Kathy Sadeo. So instead of feeding your puppy in a bowl at home, take your puppy's meal, go somewhere different. It could even just be a parking lot. It could be a park or close to a playground, just somewhere different, a new location. And when you get there, feed your puppy his or her meal. You could spread it out for your puppy to sniff out, which could be fun. You could just feed it all there right together. But basically, it's again that, when I go to a new place, something really wonderful happens. You could also incorporate some fun games and some other stuff, but this is just a very easy, short activity to do to introduce your puppy to new locations in a positive manner. All right, so I do have one video here that does sort of demonstrate how to do some of these, exposing them at a safe distance here. Let me pull this up. So this is not a young puppy, but this is a more a younger dog that's a little bit more sensitive. So she's having it close to some young kids here who are doing some bites, and you can sort of see the curiosity there. So she's just letting the puppy sort of explore and then rewarding the dog for checking in with her. Oops, okay, how's that? Love how YouTube gives you all that other stuff. All right. Again, I do not see any questions, so I'm going to go to the next one. So as you are doing these social outings or these activities, what I really want you to look for are some of these signs of stress. Because again, we want to always have it be a positive experience. We want to end on a good note. Better to have it be a shorter session that was really positive for your puppy, because you can always go back again, rather than have it be so long that your puppy does get overwhelmed or what was positive turns into a negative. So these displacement behaviors are normal behaviors, but they're expressed out of context. Obviously, dogs do yawn, pant, sniff, shake, scratch, lick their lips, groom themselves, shed. All of those things are normal. But what we're talking about with displacement behaviors is where they're being expressed at a time that they maybe shouldn't. So your dog is playing, running around, and then all of a sudden your dog is sort of doing a lot of yawning. Same, panting, that is, if your dog is hot, obviously that's in context. But if you're in a cooler environment or your dog hasn't been doing a lot of activity and suddenly you notice a lot of panting, that can definitely be a stress sign. So the sniffing tends to be, again, your dog is engaging or doing something, and then they suddenly disengage and their nose is sort of glued to the ground. That is something that a lot of dogs do in a higher stress environment, or when they're starting to get overwhelmed. Sniffing is physiologically calming for dogs. So I think it's just something that they've sort of self-programmed to do. to bring their stress level down, but it also communicates that to other dogs. Shaking off, I do have a short video that's going to show that. So a lot of times if there's a particularly intense session or something like that, your dog will do, if you see that shaking off, that's a sign that it might have been a little bit too much for your puppy. Scratching, if your dog is suddenly just itching all over the place, could be getting a little bit of stress there. Lip licking, this is kind of an appeasement behavior. I've got that picture right there of the dog that's sort of doing that up and touching the nose. That's a very typical what it looks like when the dog is a little bit nervous and they do that lip lick right there. Excessive licking or grooming. So again, all of a sudden your dog is just excessively licking themselves or those sorts of things. And then excessive shedding. When your dog is suddenly blowing out a coat, that can definitely be an indication of stress. All right, so other signs that it might be time to go home, the zoomies. I'm sure puppy owners are all familiar with the zoomies. Suddenly, somewhere between 4 and 6 o'clock, your puppy is zooming all over the house. Again, it just might be, kind of like toddler, that overtired, getting a little overwhelmed. Loss of interest, a puppy that's usually very outgoing is suddenly disengaged from people or other things. Whining and barking, those are a little bit more obvious, but those are the things that I want you to watch for. So if you're taking your puppy out to do some of these and you start to notice, taking your puppy out to do socialization exercises and you start to notice some of these behaviors, that might be a sign that it's time to go home, that your puppy's done for the day. Okay, what do we have up next? All right, so here's the little video that has the shake off. So this was after a particularly intense play session. So quick little shake off there. All right. Oh, there we go. All right, so the last tier on our socialization program is play. And this is the one that's going to be the most difficult to substitute for single puppies. The reason that it's so beneficial is because just like kids, dogs learn how to interact with each other through play. It's not something that they're born with. They don't really know how to speak dog. That's something that they have to learn. So dogs communicate through body language. Body language is so essential in terms of how dogs communicate with us and communicate with each other. And it's not something that puppies automatically know how to read. So one of the things that they're learning in play is what it means when another dog does a certain behavior or what they're communicating with their bodies. And so, most puppies have no idea of what social norms are. So that's why they sort of head straight up to the other dog right in their face and they're ready to go. In the dog world, that's actually very rude behavior. For us primates, we like to be looking at each other. We like to be face to face. But for dogs, that's kind of intimidating. It's kind of more of this sort of thing. And so a more, the polite way to approach is sort of from the side. And that's why they sort of do the rear end sniffing. So you'll sort of see them sort of come this way and they sort of sniff each other. Hey, who are you? Oh, okay. And then at that point, they start to interact. So these are things that they don't naturally know that they have to learn. You might see when you're seeing some dogs interact, you might see one of them do a bit of a look away, and that's sort of a signal to the other dog, we need to take it down a notch. I'm disengaging a little bit. Please give me a little space. And again, a puppy isn't going to know that. They're not necessarily going to respond to that. But over time, they start to learn what that means. If I put my front end down and my rear end up, what does the other dog do? Oh, well, that initiates some play. Okay, so this is a great way to ask another dog to play with me. So these are the types of things that they're learning. They're also, hopefully, especially if they're playing with another adult dog that knows what they're doing, they're going to be learning some boundaries as well. So that being said, if you do not have that option, if you do have some dogs in your neighborhood or a park that's close to you where your puppy could observe other dogs playing, if not, at least observe other dogs walking around and doing stuff, because even though they're not directly interacting, they're still sending each other signals. So that's really what we're looking for in play here. It's just sort of learning how to communicate with each other. And then, it just sort of depends on what your situation is, how much interaction that you can actually do with your puppy. But if you can't do any direct interaction with another dog, at least get that exposure so that they can see other dogs and be comfortable with that. And so the thing that I have down here to keep in mind, if you are taking your puppy out to be around other dogs, but not letting them interact, try and keep enough distance that your puppy isn't frustrated by that lack of interaction. If your puppy is at the end of the leash and whining or lunging and all of that, we're not really accomplishing what we want. What we're really teaching our dog is that seeing other dogs means frustration because I can't get to them. You want to give them a little more distance, take them a little bit further away. And at the point where your puppy is able to disengage from looking at that other dog and focus on you, at that point you can sort of see, okay, now can you look at that other dog? Oh, good job, you're looking at that other dog. You know, good stuff, here's a treat. And then sort of watch the other dog from a comfortable distance. So they're getting some exposure, but without that frustration. Okay, I think we're winding down here, folks. All right, so here are my key takeaways. So with the socialization checklist, the main things that we're talking about are that exposure to people and, the point that I wanted to make is exposure to people and dogs in the home does not necessarily generalize to other dogs and people. And so that's why we talked about either going outside so they can see others or changing up your appearance so you look like somebody new and different. You know, for people that have kids at home, it's like, my dog's great with kids, but your kids are a member of the family and familiar. Other kids are not in that same boat. So those are the kinds of things that we're talking about generalization. And again, I completely understand that things are limited in what you can do, but that's why we're talking about trying to change things up at home, and then also exposure from distances. They're still seeing other people and other kids doing things in a positive manner, and we're still accomplishing that. With the confidence building, a lot of climbing, working on balance, going over, under, through things, and then those introduction to different surfaces and substrates. And I didn't go over any outdoor substrates, but introduce your puppy to grass, concrete, mulch, all these different things. So that your puppy, if you have to go on vacation and you're taking your puppy will be able to go to the bathroom on whatever substrate you're going to be encountering there. If you have a sand pit in the backyard, sand would be another good one to introduce them to. Meeting others, the key factor, and one of the things that Laura says is people don't meet puppies, puppies meet people. So again, the puppy is always in control. The puppy can say, no, I don't want to interact with somebody or meet somebody, and always keep it positive. And then on the play, we talked about the puppies are not, don't know how to speak dog naturally. And I didn't touch on this, but I do want to say, so I don't know if any dog parks are open depending on where you are. If they are, that could be a great place for your dogs to watch puppies play, watch other dogs playing to get that experience. But even outside of COVID-19 and all of that, I do not recommend taking young puppies to a dog park, just because it's so easy for them to get overwhelmed. And again, we talked about fear, plus especially if they're not fully vaccinated, you don't know that every dog at the dog park is vaccinated. It's also just, you don't know what you're going to get there. So you may get somebody who's not paying attention to their dog and your puppy gets overwhelmed, and those sorts of things. So better to go to some place that has a trainer or somebody that's watching it, or to do some of those more one-on-one play dates, again, if you're able to do those sorts of things. I don't know if I have one. Oh, okay. So just to sort of touch on some of the other things that I usually include in my socialization class, and other things for you to be thinking about. And this is for adult dogs too. Even though we're home for the most part all the time right now, it's very important to teach your puppy how to be alone, and to still have that be part of your adult dog's routine. So for puppies and dogs that are crate trained, which I highly recommend, having them in the crate for a certain period of time during the day, just as a normal part of the routine. For puppies, it can be anywhere from 15 minutes a day to maybe up to a couple hours, depending on what you have going on. It depends on the age of the puppy. For those young under 16 weeks, I would probably limit it to an hour, for maybe up to 2 hours, but for the most part, I would say about an hour. Actually, no, that's not true. They could probably go up to 2 hours. But at any rate, keeping the alone time part of their routine. For dogs that have never experienced this before, you always want to start off with those shorter periods. So, practice for, even 5 minutes or something where you're sort of out of the room and then you come back and those sorts of things. And then you start to build up that duration. But having that be part of their normal experience now is a great thing to continue and to have be normal, so that later on down the road when they are alone, that it's not this new thing that's completely overwhelming or scary. For body handling, this is basically getting them comfortable with having nails looked at, paws handled, teeth, ears, tails, those sorts of things. Basically anything that a groomer would do or a vet would need to do. And if you're not sure about that, I do have the Facebook Live from this last Friday. I can't remember dates, but anyway, I did do a Facebook Live on this topic. So I did talk a little bit about how you can make it a positive experience and have your dog be a willing participant in these things and actually have them enjoy these sorts of experiences. Resource guarding is basically where a dog will protect something like food or a certain location like the couch or their bed, high value chews, some stuff like that. So there are some exercises that you can do to lessen the likelihood of the guarding or to teach your puppy to enjoy you approaching them when they have those things. That is one of the topics of the training bites that I do for puppies on Tuesdays. I'm not sure if that's the one for tomorrow. I think that might be the one for tomorrow, but if not, it'll be the one next week, Tuesday. And then enrichment, just things to keep your puppy mentally and physically stimulated. So things like using puzzle feeders or games of hide and seek, or like I said, spreading their food out for them to find and sniff out. It doesn't have to be complicated, just something that keeps them thinking and busy and sort of, prevents that boredom and also gives them things to do. All right, so that was a lot of information. I hope that you did find it helpful. I would love any comments, questions, or feedback. I'm going to stay on here for a little while. I will definitely post one of the socialization checklists, and I will try and see if I can put up any more videos on how to do some of these activities. Yes, I will post on there. I will post on the main page when that training bite is. Yeah. And so I'm doing training bites with puppy topics every Tuesday. It was at 6:30. I think it might still be at 6:30, but every Tuesday at 6:30 is a puppy topic. So it's going to be either socialization, which we just did, body handling, resource guarding, or management, things like how to potty train, crate train, and those sorts of things. All right, so I hope that was beneficial and it did give you guys some ideas or answer questions that you may have. And I am around, so you can always ask a question or get on the website and put in questions, and I will be happy to talk to you about that. Okay. You are very welcome. All right, Lisa, did you want me to answer for everyone or do you want me to just type it back to you?
She said everyone.
Okay, all right, thank you. So yes, so that's a great question. So Lisa asked, how do you know if play is too rough between your dogs? And this is where body language is very important. So it kind of depends. So some dogs can be very loud and sound really scary when they're playing, but that's their normal. It sort of depends on what your dog's normal is. But one of the things you want to look for is looseness versus stiffness. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is very stiff, very high, very tight, a lot of tension, and 10 is just floppy dog that's all over the place. We want them to be on that higher range, that 7, 8, 9, 10 range with play. So we want a lot of bouncy movements, a lot of curving bodies. Ears can be sort of going, front and back and all of that, and sort of moving around again, sort of floppy, nice loose face, no tension. If you start to see a little more tension or a little more stillness, or sort of that sort of higher, the elbows that were sort of bendy start to become stiff, those are signs that play might be turning into a little more serious. If your dog tends to not normally be very vocal and then suddenly starts to become vocal, that could be an indication. And the other thing is, if you have one dog that tends to be a little bit more so, and so you're wondering, oh, is that too rough for the other dog? You always want to do those checks. So for the dog that tends to be the one that's a little bit more forceful or a little bit more overwhelming, sort of, trying to figure out how to do this. You don't want to do a collar grab necessarily, because that can be very start things that we don't want to start. If you could sort of call them away, or even just sort of hold them for just a second, what you're basically trying to do is see, does the other dog come back for more? So if you sort of take them out of play and your other dog sort of does a shake off and sort of starts to go in the other direction or starts to sniff the ground, okay, yeah, it was too much for that other dog. They need to tap out. They're sort of done for the moment. If the other dog's like, hey, why'd you stop this, and coming back, then they're probably having a good time. And so there are different play styles. Some dogs do play really rough, and that's just their play style and they're comfortable. Some dogs do that and they're comfortable, and the other dogs are like, whoa, man, I didn't sign up for this. So, it's difficult if you have two different dogs that have two different play styles, but it's really all about, are both dogs coming back, and are they having a good time? So if you're seeing some injuries between your dogs, then that would be something that I would say, go ahead and shoot me an email or something, and that would be something we should probably address. But if for the most part, it sort of looks a little scary to you, but they sort of both walk away happy and all of that, then I would say they're probably fine. If you've got an adult dog and a puppy and you're worried about the puppy being overwhelmed, then yeah, I would say take some video or something and shoot it to me, and I could give you more info. All right, well, hopefully that was helpful, and you can send me back a message, or you can go ahead and send an email or a comment on Facebook. And I think I'm going to sign off because I don't see any more questions. You're very welcome. All right, guys, have a great week, and hope to see some of you on future, I should have said puppy bites. So the puppy bites are on Tuesdays. And yeah, just let me know if you do have any questions, or share how things are going with your puppies. All right, guys, thank you so much. Come back here.